They don't understand. Casting judgment. I just stand on loyalty. I'm keeping it 100. And that will never change. You can hate it or you love it.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tevin Jameer back at it again with another episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. And this episode is going to be what I could say is a very personal and transparent episode. You know, I've been doing a lot of audio episodes lately, and part of the reason that this one is an audio only episode is because, you know, I'm gonna get very truthful and transparent with y'all. I'm gonna keep it all the way real with y'all, and I don't fully know if I'm ready to film myself on camera when I talk about some of the things I'm going to talk about on this video, because at least, you know, when you are being truthful with yourself, sometimes it's hard to look at yourself physically, if you get what I mean. It's kind of hard when you're being truthful with yourself, and I feel like recently I've had an awakening of some sort, and I don't know. This episode is just going to be very transparent. It's going to be very real. You know, I'm going to touch on some things that I didn't think I would say to to the public. Some things I think I wouldn't have said a long time ago. And I mean, look, I'm not a big channel, so anybody that's pressing on this video that never listened to my podcast or anything like that before, this also means that I'm opening up to complete strangers who has all the power in the world to judge any and everything that I have to say. But, you know, this is part of me and my growing process, and this is part of me keeping it real, but not just with, you know, my friends, family, but even fans of mine who's probably been keeping up with my channel for a long time. Like I said, I ain't no big channel. Obviously, y'all can see that in the numbers, but, you know, from what I see, it seems like there are some dedicated people that do check out my videos whenever I upload. So before I get into it, I like to say thank you to all those people. And if you guys are longtime subs of my channel, you guys probably have seen my What I Learned This Summer video. I guess you could say that this video is this episode is somewhat gonna be like that, where it's just me talking about honest thoughts and things that happened to me recently that made me come to these conclusions. So yeah, I know I've been taking a whole almost 3 minutes to explain this, but you know, like I said, this episode is going to be very real for me, and I don't know if I'm going to continue to make episodes like this, but just know that I just wanted to give some context before I really got into it. And yeah, so with all that being said, let's get straight into the episode. So let's get really into it. And there is no recent topics, there is no recent movies or shows that I want to touch on this episode. So if you guys like that, as far as when it comes to my podcast, then this episode isn't for y'all. This episode is just strictly me talking about myself, things that I feel like I learned recently, and things that I feel like needs to change, because I'm getting to a point now where I feel like there's a lot that needs to change. So all right, like I said, recently I came to an awakening, or some type of awakening, and part of it is some of my behavior, you know, as far as myself, as far as a certain person who I know wouldn't want me talking about them, so I'm not gonna say who they are. I'm not gonna hint at who they are, but I mean, if they are listening, they are listening, and just know that I am talking about, you know, that stuff. But before I get into that person, before I get into that, I want to talk about a lot of the behaviors that I feel like I need to change within myself. And I guess in this episode, you guys can just listen to me talk and vent, and maybe you guys can pull something like that you want out of this. So one thing with me is one thing I pointed out about myself is I use social media a lot more than I really like to. Like, I'm someone where I am a very private person. Like, I don't like to share constantly what I'm doing. I don't like to share where I'm at all times. Like, there has been times recently on Instagram where I'll post where I'm at. Like, when I went to my niece's football game, which I told y'all about in the last episode, I posted like I was there. But, you know, I feel like with the way that our generation uses social media, I feel like there needs to be some type of moderation, because I do see that the more use of social media can lead to like bad mental health and stuff like that. And this is stuff that I've been talking about for a long time on my channel. But, you know, social media is almost like a drug. And I said that before, like, it gives you a really mean dopamine hit. So, you know, I try to stay away from social media, but, you know, I'm young. This is the generation that I grew up in, and, you know, it's kind of hard, you know, leaving social media alone. Like, even when you know you need to, like, it's kind of hard to do that. So one thing that I used to do years ago was I used to use the screen time on my iPhone to regulate like how much I stay on social media. And throughout the years, like, I have kept the screen time on there, but I didn't stick with it. Like, I would always say, you know, ignore screen time for the rest of the day, or ignore for 15 minutes, and I just keep doing that. But this past week, I was like, you know what? I'm done pressing that. Like, unless I'm about to actually post something, then I'm not going to press the ignore button no more. Like, I wish iPhones had like a way to make it like more stricter, like you can't press ignore. But then again, you could always go into your settings and probably turn that off. So I don't know, but I feel like it's not just they need to update something, it's also that I need to change as well. I need to keep up moderating my social media use, because, you know, there's nothing wrong with social media if you use it wisely. But I am going to be honest, I don't use social media that wisely. Sometimes I use it way too much. Sometimes I post way too much. And this is stuff that I need to work on. And like I said before, I'm young. This is the generation I grew up in. So it is something that, you know, I have to learn. But social media use is definitely something that I want to regulate more with myself. You know, sometimes people get annoyed when I temporarily disable my Instagram account. But truth be told, like, you know, it's all for me trying to use social media less. It's all for me trying to bettering myself as a person. So if social media, just like me, if social media is like a big component in your life and stuff like that, then, you know, try to find some type of regulation or moderation of it. And it's hard for me because, you know, I do this podcast. I want to get into filmmaking, and, you know, a big aspect of those things is the fact that you have to promote your stuff, especially when you're not a big artist, or like when you're not a big content creator. Like, if you're one of the big ones, you could probably go a while without using social media and you'll still be just fine. Your fans will still be waiting for you and stuff like that. Me, I'm still on the, you know, I'm still up and coming, so I have to use this stuff to promote. Like, there's times where I don't use social media and I release a podcast episode and it'll rake in like a few views. But with episodes where I do promote it on social media, I get tons of more views. So like, there's a lot of times where, you know, I don't like using social media, but I know it's something that I have to use. So if I'm going to have to use it, I need to make sure that I'm regulating it and that I'm not using it way too much. So, you know, if you're in the same boat as me, if you're someone that really wants to work on their social media, you know, usage, you know, take my story or take my words as some type of lesson. And, you know, it's easier said than done, but I think that's one of the main themes of this episode. A lot of the things I'm saying are easier said than done, but it's still stuff that I want to get done. These are still things that I strive to, you know, achieve and focus and work on. So that was just one aspect. The other aspect is my music, and not even just my music, but even the music that I listen to. So, quick thing about me. I'm a big fan. I love music. Like, I love all different type of genres. Like, it be messing people's heads up when they find out that I listen to country. Like, I love country music. I love R&B. R&B is my favorite genre. I also love rap music. And one thing that I slightly touched on I think it was like the episode where I was last talking about King Von. You know, there's a lot of times where I'll also listen to a lot of gangster music or like, you know, drill music and stuff like that. And for a while, like, you know, I do have firm beliefs that, you know, media doesn't always play a part in how a person acts and stuff like that. It's almost like, you know, back in the day when people used to say like violent video games will cause kids to act violent. Like, I never believe in that. But one thing that I did somewhat notice with myself, and I wouldn't fully blame it on the music, but I will say that I feel like music does play some type of part in your mindset, your mood, and stuff like that. Because there was, I would say, a dark period of my life where I would have a lot of dark thoughts where I was thinking about getting back at someone who wronged me. And the way that I was thinking of getting back was like some very violent things. And that wasn't me. And when I think back at that time in my life, the main stuff that I was listening to was like drill music, King Von, music where people would laugh at, you know, someone being dead and stuff like that. And like I said, I don't want to fully put it all on the music. Circumstances and your environment can also play a big part. And I won't say that, and I won't lie, like some of that stuff did play a part. But what I am also saying is that I do believe in like stuff like music frequencies, like not controlling, but like playing a part in somebody's mood and mind. I might be talking circles right now, but I hope you guys get what I'm saying. Like, just like the frequency hertz and stuff like that, like the theories that people have where like certain music can shape and form like thoughts in your mind and stuff like that. I'm just saying that in that time period where I was thinking about doing violent things to someone that wronged me, I was listening to a lot of that type of music, and I feel like it was really putting me in that mind state. Also, listening to that type of music, I felt like also put me in a mind state where I always have to get back at someone. I always have to reciprocate energy. I always have to get revenge on somebody in some way, shape, or form. But that's not the case, and I feel like that's what led me to a lot of moments in my life that I feel like wasn't really good for me. I always had to one up somebody. I always had to get back at them. I always had to get revenge. When in the long run, me choosing the what's the word called? The higher road or something like that. Me taking the more peaceful and, you know, just move on approach has always just helped me in the long run. Like, just me not getting into the drama and stuff like that always helped me more in the long run. And I noticed that when I would listen to more like R&B or more positive hip hop or, you know, country, or like when I would when I play music that doesn't indulge in violence and always get back at people and laughing at people's downfalls, that's when I noticed I was more in a positive mind state. Like last year, and I talked about this with my cousin on one of the episodes of the podcast, last year I used to go to the gym constantly, losing pounds, working on, you know, my podcast. Oh wait, no, I didn't have a podcast at the time, but, you know, keeping up with my schoolwork, coming up with new film ideas. Like, in the moments where I feel like my life was more positive, I was listening to more R&B. I was listening to more uplifting hip hop. I was listening to Christian music, country. I was listening to so much more. I was focusing more on my relationship with God. Like, I was focusing more on positive things when, you know, I wasn't watching all these gangster movies and shows while not, listening to so much violent and demonic type of music. And hey, look, if that's what you're into and you know how to separate the two, then that is perfect for you. I'm not sitting here like talking down on anybody listening to drill music. I'm not sitting here talking down on anybody that listens to like that gritty type of hip hop, because like I said, there is a part of me that does like that stuff. But what I am saying is that from now on, I am going to start getting into it less. And one thing about me is I'm a big fan of hip hop. I'm a big fan of rap. I love like the history. I love keeping up with current rap and stuff like that. And part of that was keeping up with these rap beefs that I would like see these rappers get into. And me keeping up with these rap beefs was also me indulging in negativity. I can enjoy their music, but not dive deep into like what they're personally going through and stuff like that. And that's something that I need to work on. Like, I need to moderate my, me listening to that type of music, because I do feel like listening to that type of music does shape something in your mind and make you move a certain way. And I'm still watch Power, of course. I might listen to a little King Von or Little Durk or NBA Youngboy here and there, but the main thing that I am trying to say is I'm done trying to make that the main thing that I listen to. I'm done trying to make that the main thing that I consume, because I really do feel like stuff like that can shape your mindset and whatever. And there is another thing that I don't want to consume no more that I don't think would be really appropriate for me to talk about on the podcast or anything like that. Well, I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it right now. I actually will want to make an episode about it like later in the future when I feel like I made a lot more progress. But there is also something else, not music related, that I consumed a lot recently that I don't want to consume that no more. And I feel a lot better not doing that no more. Now, I mean, if you know, then you know. But, that's another thing that I want to work on. Basically, to sum that topic up, I also want to work on what type of entertainment that I'm consuming, because I feel like that type of stuff can really affect you and stuff like that. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is, I'm also putting a lot more focus on, I'm also working on, achieving my dreams, achieving my goals. I feel like that's something that I never stopped doing, but there's moments in time where like I would put all my focus into it and then I would stop, and then I put all my focus into it and then I would stop and chill for a little bit, or like I would just like slack a little. Sorry, y'all. I don't know what happened, but the audio messed up. But basically what I'm saying is that there's moments where I would slack a little bit after having like a big burst of like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I'm going to do this. Like, there would be a lot of times where I'm working on like film ideas or working on the podcast, or even when I made music, working on my album. And like, I would be fully into it, but then out of nowhere, like I find days where I'm slacking, where it's like, if I want to achieve these goals, if I want to achieve these dreams, I gotta be continuous. I gotta be, I got to be on top of my stuff with this. So that's also another reason why like I've been really trying to be consistent with this podcast. I also put out the video that I did for my sister when she threw her friend the bridal shower. Like, I want to start doing more stuff like that. I wouldn't consider myself a videographer, but I do want to get into stuff like that just so that, I can sharpen my skills as far as like video and filmmaking and stuff like that. I got another short film that I came up with the idea of, and I want to finish the outline so that me and my friend can look over it, and then we can do the script together, and then we can then we can start casting and, you know, really get it done. So like, these are things that I want to work on, and I don't want to slack on my dreams and my goals no more. Another goal, and this was another topic that I wanted to talk about in this episode, is also my health. Like, one thing about me, if you know me almost my whole life, I have fluctuated with my weight so crazy. Like, when I was really young, I was skinny. When I got a little bit older, like late elementary school, I was very fat. And throughout middle school, I was like obese to being slightly fat to being obese. Like, my weight would fluctuate like crazy. Then in high school, freshman year, you could say I was more on the chubbier side, but then sophomore year, I was losing weight. You could see I was losing a little bit of weight. Junior year, I remember when I came in on junior year, there was one girl that came up to me and she was like, "Dang, Tevin, you lost a lot of weight. You look really good." So like, junior year, I really started losing weight. And then senior year, I was like the skinniest I've ever been in a long time. I still wouldn't even say that like I had a flat stomach or anything like that, but I was still very, like, I was a lot more skinnier than I've ever been in my life. So it's crazy. My weight fluctuates a lot, and I was able to remain somewhat skinny throughout my first half of college. Then in my junior year, that's when I gained a little bit of weight, but I was still doing a lot of healthy stuff. Then, you know, I got into a relationship with this one girl in my junior year of college. And I would say that, like, you know, she accepted me as far as like my weight for what she accepted my weight. So like, I guess you could say that I gained happy weight. Like, you know, my girlfriend doesn't care. So like, I'm still gonna, you know, do me. Like, you know, my weight didn't become a priority really, because like, she was so fine with the way that I look. And there's nothing on her for that. Like, and at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to keep up for my weight. 2 years ago, you know, I was very delusional about, you know, how much I really weighed and stuff like that. And it wasn't until 2 years ago when some of my clothes didn't fit anymore. I had to order stuff in bigger sizes. I was ordering things from websites I would always order from, and I would get mad because like, oh, I don't know if their sizing changed, but now like, you know, I can't fit this stuff no more. And it took me until I went to the doctors to realize that I became obese. I became a lot fatter than someone my age should be. And, you know, like I said, this was 2 years ago. Last year, like, I was on a crazy burst of going to the gym and losing weight and stuff like that. But then somewhere, like I said, I always have these bursts where I'm really focused, I'm locked in, and then I would slack. And I would say, like, for the past few months, I have been slacking. But now I'm back at a point where I'm locked in, and I don't want to stop being locked in. I have a goal for the end of this year to go back to the weight that I was at. Like I said, in my senior year of high school, I was at a really good weight, and that was the most skinny I've been since I was a little kid. So my goal, at least for the end of this year, is to at least hit that weight that I was at in my senior year. And I was like around the 170, like I was around the 170, 175 weight area. So like, as long as by the end of this year that I at least hit like 175 or something like that. For reference, last time I checked, I'm at like 220. So like, that's just a reference. If I reach that goal at least by the end of the year, then I will be satisfied. And I don't mean like satisfied like, oh, I don't have to do this no more. Like, I'm going to continue making my health a priority. And I thought one of the things that was making my health a priority like years ago was that I became pescatarian. But the one thing that I've also had to learn that I feel like a lot of people don't put too much importance in is, yes, you can watch your calories, you can eat healthier things. But the thing is, you also have to also work out, because like eating healthy doesn't mean anything if you're not working out. Like you got to do both. You got to do both to maintain your health. And that's something that I've had to realize, and that's something that I've had to work on. So that's something that I am working on. I do watch my calories every day. I do watch what I eat, and I'm also trying to match the workouts with it just as well. So yeah, these are things that, that I'm working on, that I hope y'all also listen to this podcast and take into account. Basically, a lot of what I'm working on really does have to do with the things that I'm consuming, whether that's listening, watching, eating, habits, like all that stuff. I'm basically just working on moderating that stuff. And honestly, I somewhat feel embarrassed that it took me this long to even think about some of the stuff that I was doing. But I'm young, but I'm getting to a point now where I can see things that I didn't do that well. And like I said, it's very hard keeping it real with yourself, but at some point everybody has to do it. And I feel like that's an important thing. The other things that I wanted to work on, the next topic I wanted to work on, is I also came to a point where I'm starting to accept the flaws that I have while also working on them. See, my thing is, people need to be self-aware of themselves. And a lot of people don't think that I'm a self-aware person. A lot of people don't think I'm capable of change. A lot of people don't think I'm capable of really thinking about my actions. When truth be told, I'm constantly doing that. I'm always thinking about what I'm doing. I'm always constantly thinking about what I could have done better in a lot of situations. I've been in situations where people believe that I can't do that stuff, but, and I'm not trying to put myself on no high horse or try to make myself sound good, but I am always constantly thinking about what can I do that's better? Like, how can I be a better person than I was yesterday? And whether people believe that I'm capable of that or not, I know myself, and I know that there is a lot of things that I need to work on. One of the things that I need to work on, and this is something I'm still currently having problems with, but this is also another thing that I hope by the end of the summer that I can fully fix within myself, and that is, I'm a shopaholic. I put a lot of value into materialistic things. I am crazy when it comes to clothes, fashion, stuff that I genuinely don't need. Like, I am crazy when it comes to that stuff. If you guys look at my closet, maybe one day I'll show a video where I record my closet. My closet is filled to the brim with clothes. I wouldn't consider myself like a crazy sneakerhead. Like, I know the history and the names of every single shoe that I got, but I am big on sneakers. I'm big on shoes. I love sneakers. I love clothes. I love, stepping out and looking good and stuff like that. But then, see, here's my thing. All right, little other backstory. When I was younger, I didn't really value like clothes and brands and stuff like that when I was younger. Like, my mom will tell you, like, there was a lot of days where she would pick out my outfits when I'm younger, and I would come back home with the clothes dirty and stuff like that. And she had to tell me, like, Tevin, these are good clothes. Like, why are you messing them up? Like, I would come home with dirt stains all over my jeans, sometimes shirts ripped. And, like, these weren't no small brands either. Like, these were, like, impressive brands to be rocking back in the day. I'm talking, like in the 2000s, like Sean John, G Unit, any popular like any popular brand from the 2000s, like my mom would like buy them for me, and I would always come home messing them up because, you know, I'm a little kid. I ain't really think about it like that. I didn't know better. But then, like, you know, when as you get older, like obviously going through school, like people put a lot of emphasis into who's rocking what, who's wearing this, who's wearing that. And in middle school, like, you know, I still had some of my nice brands and stuff like that, but in middle school, people was walking out wearing like I don't know what their parents was doing, but these people were walking around with some nice ass clothes. You know, when we got to high school, I'm seeing people rock designer and stuff like that. And in high school, you know, I started to really focus a little bit more on what I was wearing. And if you see me in high school, I was a straight sportswear or sports leisure, whatever they call it. Like I was a straight up sports type person. Like I'm always wearing Nike. If I did wear anything besides Nike, I might rock a little bit of H&M, but I was always walking around dripped out in Nike and Jordan stuff. So that was it for me in high school. But then when I went to college, like when you go to college, you're out of school. Especially when you live on campus, you're out of school with a bunch of different people from a bunch of different backgrounds. And like I said, you know, I came in still wearing my Nike and Jordan drip from high school. But then in college, like you see people rocking designer. You see people rocking like Babe, Supreme, all of that. Like, you know, then I started to really look into those brands and I was like, sheesh, I want to get into like some of that fly stuff too. I want to start dressing up and looking like that. So I put a lot of emphasis on the clothes I was rocking. Fashion Nova became a big thing, so I started ordering from Fashion Nova a lot. You know, I started looking at like what celebrities were wearing, and I was trying to find like cheaper alternatives and stuff like that. And I was finding like brands where it's somewhat is like designer, but also at the same time, like regular people can rock it at the same time too, and it won't break your bank. Like I was doing that more. I was buying a lot more sneakers, and you know what started out as me just trying to look good then started becoming like, I have to have all these clothes. I have to buy this. I have to buy that. When it came time to get rid of clothes, I never wanted to get rid of it. I was hoarding it. And like I started putting a lot of emphasis on things that I didn't need. Like recently this year, I bought a Michael Kors backpack. And while I do like the backpack, I didn't need another backpack. Like I already had an Odd Future backpack that was just fine. I just ended school this past December. I had a bunch of other backpacks that I was using for school. But what did I do? I said, I see a designer brand. I see a nice brand like Michael Kors. I see this backpack that looks expensive and I know people would be looking at me and like checking me out if I rocked it. So I bought it. And the whole point of this is, and this goes back to moderation, like, you know, you can buy nice stuff and make yourself feel good, especially if you worked hard for it. Because that was always my justification. Oh, it's my money, so I can do what I want with it. I worked for this, so I can get this if I want to. Like, that was always my justification. But at the end of the day, yes, you can splurge on yourself. It is healthy to splurge on yourself and do nice things for yourself once in a while. But if it gets to a point where like you're constantly always having to ask people for money, if you're always constantly worried about when you're next gonna pay something, like that's an issue. Now, okay, I will keep it real. As far as like the very important stuff, like if I had car payments and insurance, I always been on top of that. But when it comes to like stuff that I don't consider, like, you know, when the pay or buy now and then pay later options started coming out, dang, I can't remember the apps like Zip and apps like that, like where you can pay in fours or buy it now and then you can pay it later. Like when options like that started coming, I kept ordering stuff and the prices of all the stuff I would have to pay for eventually kept adding up. And it gets to a point where you have to start asking people like, hey, can I borrow this so I can, you know, pay this off and then I'll pay you back this day. Like, you know, I'm talking about this and I'm currently in this situation right now. Like, I'm currently in a situation where I know I'm going to have to ask somebody for money eventually. But that's something that I don't want to do no more. That's something that I never want to put myself in this type of position again. So just know that as of me filming this episode, honestly, I am probably going to ask somebody for money. But once this last time is over, I'm never putting myself in this position again, because now I finally realize, like, I need to stop, you know, buying all this stuff, because who am I impressing? Like, there's no one to impress now. Or not that I should do it when there's someone to impress, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, I'm out of that phase of my life where I'm so focused on the stuff I'm wearing, where I'm so focused on having all this designer stuff. Like, I have to have this, I have to have that, because that doesn't affect your life or change your life in any way, shape, or form. Having these nice materialistic clothes and stuff, like, that doesn't change nothing. Like, you know, achieving your goals, like becoming a better person, having experiences, those are the stuff that changes and makes life better. Like, the money that I'm putting into a lot of these clothes that I got in my closet, that's money that I could have been putting towards trips. That's money that I could have been putting towards getting another car. Not that I want another car, but the day that I want to get one, I could just be putting money away for that. I could be putting money away to get, like, more better film equipment, getting new film equipment that I don't have. The only lights that I have is one that I got from my camera, and then another one, you know, that I use when I'm filming episodes for the podcast, like when I film on camera. Like, I only have 2 sets of lights, when I could be getting like a whole lighting setup. I could get a boom mic. I could get different lenses. I could get stuff that helps me with what I want to do. But what am I doing? I'm spending money on clothes and designer book bags and stuff like that. Like I said, it's not bad to do that for yourself once in a while, but you got to put your priorities first, and you got to put, you know, stuff that really matters first. Like, I'm about to go on vacation. Like, I've been talking about this. I'm about to go on vacation to South Carolina as of me filming this episode next week. And I have enough money for that trip, but how much am I going to have once that trip is over? That's the thing. I want to, by the end of the summer, I want to put myself in a position where I don't ever have to worry about paying something, because, you know, I need, like, you know, I need to let go of some of that materialistic stuff. So, like I said, it's nice to do that for yourself once in a while, but these are things that I need to definitely work on, definitely being better with my money. And this other thing is probably my biggest thing that I want to talk about. And this is where I'm going to talk about that person where I know they're not going to want me to talk about them, so I'm not going to say who they are. I'm not going to, like, any of that, but okay. So if you guys been following this channel, then you guys probably know who I am talking about. But this was someone who was very important to me, like, years ago. And, you know, I would call them my best friend. I would call them my confidant. There was, like, this person was the person that I feel like I trusted the most ever in my life. I feel like I opened up to this person like 100%. Like, nobody else saw me the way that this person did. And like I said, I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not going to insinuate nothing. But let's just say that 2 years ago, me and this person cut off contact completely. And I won't say fully completely, because there has been times, like, throughout the past year and a half that, like, it's not like we would have conversations with each other, but we would say things to each other. So, like, yeah. I hope some of y'all know who I'm talking about without having to say who it is. And if they're listening, I hope they know that I'm talking about them, because this is something that they've probably been wanting to hear for a long time. But yeah, so like I said, 2 years ago, me and this person stopped talking regularly. For the last year and a half, there's been things said between me and this person here and there, a lot of blocking and unblocking going on. But recently I've sat down and I really thought about that situation that caused us to stop talking years ago. And I still maintain that things happened on both ends that caused that to happen. But what I will admit to is that a lot of what caused that stuff to happen started with me. And it started with me being controlling and selfish. And when I say controlling, I don't mean like, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, what I mean is like little things. Like when me and this person, used to do things together, without me even realizing it, it was always what I wanted to do. Like, we always had to watch my movie. We always had to listen to my music. We always had to do activities that I wanted to do. We always had to eat where I wanted to eat. A lot of situations became more about me than them. When we first met each other, it was about both of us. And at some point, I don't know when that point happened, but at some point, it really just did all become just about me. And I became controlling and selfish without even realizing it. Looking back at situations, there was times where, like I said, there was so many things that were just about me, that the one time that person asked for just one thing, I would get annoyed with them or mad at them. And it's like, now that I'm older and I can look back at that situation, it was like, what was I tripping for? Because like, you over here getting pretty much almost everything that you wanted, but you tripping on them for just asking for one thing, when you know you weren't really like that at the beginning. And, not even just with this person, but there is times where I feel like I have to have control of situations, where I always have to be 10 steps ahead of people or situations. And that was just something that I've learned growing up. Like, you always have to have some type of answer or solution to everything, or everything would like go crazy or go bad. When in all reality, in life, you can't control everything. You can't control outcomes. You can't control people. You can't do that. And you shouldn't do that. So that's something that I've really had to confront with myself recently. And, I would like to properly apologize to this person, but from what I see, this person is in a better place in their life, and I don't want to, go in and possibly start something, and I don't want to go in, starting drama or anything like that, because I believe everybody should be happy. And if this person is happy without me being there, then, I know that's the right decision then. So I would like to properly apologize to that person. I don't know if I'm ever going to get the chance to, but, I would like to do that, because, now I'm starting to see like how controlling and selfish of a person that I can be sometimes. And, I'm only human, and I just try to be better than I was before. And, in the rare chance that the person I'm talking about is listening, I would like to apologize. This isn't me trying to get back into your life or anything like that. This isn't me, starting drama or whatever. This is just me just trying to apologize, just to try to make things better. Not necessarily between us, but just because so I can acknowledge the faults that I have and work on it, and also so that maybe it can give you some type of peace of mind. And if that's where it ends at, then I am just fine with that. But at the end of the day, like I said, this episode is me acknowledging a lot of the flaws that I have, and this is me like working on it. And like I said, I wish I could apologize to this person face to face, you know, as an adult. But, you know, like I said, you can't control situations. You can't control people. And I'm not going to sit here and like pry myself into contact with this person and like get my apology out there. If me and this person ever cross paths, if me and this person ever talk again, then yeah, that's the first thing I'm going to say, and that is going to be my priority, is to apologize for a lot of the things that I did back then. And whatever happens after that is literally whatever happens, because that's one thing I'm trying to learn. Like, I'm trying to learn to just go with the flow of life. And obviously, okay, like obviously, just like what I've been saying a lot this episode with moderation, like obviously there are things where you do need to take action, like, you know, just like me saying that I want to achieve my dreams. Like, that's something you got to take actions with. Like, you know, as far as me, being a filmmaker isn't just going to be plopped into my hands. Like, you know, I don't have parents that are in the film industry or anything like that. I'm not a Nepo baby. That's not me necessarily. I'm not necessarily trying to be negative to Nepo babies, but, you know, I don't have family. Well, I do have one family member that's in the industry, but like, as far as like parents and like having the industry, you know, plopped into my hands, like at a young age, and just being able to get into it whenever I want, like I don't have that. So that's stuff I do need to take charge with. But as far as like, you know, situations with people and stuff like that, some things you have to leave it up to God. You have to leave it up, whether you don't believe in God or whatever. Sometimes you just gotta leave it up to life. Like, if you and that person cross paths, like if me and that person ever cross paths again, or if they decide to ever reach out, then like I said, that's going to be my first priority, is apologizing to that person for what I did. So yeah, and like I said, it's not even just to that person. There's other situations and people where I've been controlling and selfish, and I do not. Hey, look, like I said, there's a lot of people that like to judge me wrongfully. So there is certain cases where somebody might be listening to this and thinking like, oh, Tevin just admitted that he was selfish and controlling in this situation. No, I'm not sitting there falling into everybody's like stories and agenda about me, but what I am going to do is I'm going to acknowledge where I know I was wrong. So yeah, like I said, rare chance that that person is listening. I am sorry. And if there's anybody that, you know, and not trying to fit no narrative, like if I justifiably was acting controlling and selfish, then I apologize. Like, you know, I apologize to all the people that, you know, really dealt with that side of me. And just know that that is a side that I am constantly working on getting rid of. So I think the last thing that I really want to touch on is I have a big thing planned next year. And it's something that, you know, I've been wanting to do for a while. I don't want to say it. If you personally know me, do not ask me what I am talking about. I just know that there is something big that I want to plan next year, that I really want to accomplish. And, you know, with me doing that, there's a lot of things that I want to get right before I execute that plan. And at the end of the day, to sum up everything in this episode, just be able to take a look at yourself. If you guys have been sitting here, and if you guys made it this far into the episode, I thank you, because you guys have basically just been sitting here listening to me ramble and vent to y'all about like all the flaws that I know that I have. But if there's anything to take away from this episode, just know that you are human. You have flaws, but the thing that makes you a good person is if you can acknowledge it, and if you can strive to be better every single day. Like, one thing that I've really been trying to get into is bettering my relationship with God. I don't know if I've ever talked about it before, but I am Christian, but I'm someone, like, people have told me that I do uphold and maintain a lot of my Christian values, even though I never fully read the Bible. I never, I never fully read the Bible, so I don't fully know everything about Christianity, but at least a lot of other Christians tell me that, that I do uphold a lot of the values that is found in that. So I am glad that without even knowing it, I am still upholding those values, but I do want to read the Bible more. I do want to complete it, and I do want to have a better relationship with God. And I feel like, lately I have been praying a lot more. I've been talking to God more, and I feel like I'm starting to feel a lot more positive. I am starting to see a lot more of my flaws, and I am starting to see things that I need to work on and change. And like I said, whether you believe in God or not, you can still take away a lot of what I said in this episode and just acknowledge your faults, but also actively every day try to find ways to do better. And that's all we can really do in this life. Strive to do better, achieve your goals, but also make memories that's going to last, because someday we all don't know when that day is going to come, but someday we're no longer going to be here. And that's the crazy thing. That's another thing I've really been thinking about life a lot. Someday we're all not going to be here no more. And all that's going to be left is what we did while we were here. And, while I'm still here, I want to work on these flaws that I have, but I also want to make experiences with people that I care about. I also want to, achieve the goals that I have, so that, when I do eventually have kids, I can pass that on to them or leave them something or whatever. Just strive to do better. That's all I ever try to do. And if you guys been listening to this episode, I hope this episode also inspires y'all to strive to do better. Because, like I said, in this life, that's all we can really do, is just try to make good moments and just strive to be better. So I do want to end the episode on saying this. One thing that's really made me think about all of this that I've talked about, everything that I talked about in this episode, the one thing that made me think about all of this is that for the past year, last year, I think it was actually last summer, I found old baby photos of me. And I, up to this point, I never really seen that much baby or kid photos of me. There's a few sitting around my mom's house, but, because we were celebrating my graduation last summer, even though I technically didn't graduate until this past fall, but my school only had the graduation ceremonies going on in the summer. So since I was going to graduate in the fall and there's no ceremony in the fall, everybody graduating in the fall got to participate in the summer activities. So last summer, because we were getting ready for my quote unquote graduation that summer, we were going through old family photo books and stuff like that. And this was the first time that I've ever seen these childhood baby photos of me. I might make these photos the episode thumbnail. I might just make that the thumbnail just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But this was the first time I seen a lot of these photos of me that I never thought I seen before. And and then even 2 summers ago, one thing, the person that I was talking about earlier that I said I was being very selfish and controlling to, I remember there was one day where me and this person was on FaceTime and they were watching old videos of themselves when they were younger. And I remember getting a little emotional when I was on the phone with them, because I was saying dang, I don't think I have like any videos of me when I was younger. Like I don't think I have videos that I can just actively watch of me younger like you're doing right now. And 2 summers ago, like throughout my life, my family has always been talking about these tapes that my pop had, like when I was younger. Like apparently before my pop passed, he had like a lot of tapes filming like family events, filming things that he would do, just filming just his life. And we always keep talking about these tapes, and apparently they're somewhere in my mom's house, but apparently nobody knows where it's at. Mom, I know you listen to the podcast, so maybe like after you listen you can call me and tell me about it or whatever. But like, yeah, there's always these tapes that I'm always hearing about. And 2 summers ago, my aunt was actually down here, and I think my mom gave her some tapes, or she already had some tapes, I forget. But my aunt basically said that she's working on converting the tapes into like a digital file so that, you know, we can always have these memories. And as she was going through the tapes, my mom called, or she called me into her room when she was on the phone with my aunt and my uncle. We were all like on a video call or whatever. And my aunt was showing us some of these tapes where I'm seeing experiences that I had when I was younger. Like one of the experiences from the tapes that I remember is like me and my family at a bowling alley, and all you see in the video is me like running all around the bowling alley, like running all crazy, running into my family members' arms, hugging them and stuff like that, and just running around like all crazy at the bowling alley. And you know, it started to bring back memories of when I was younger. And like I said, the photos, seeing that video, like I'm starting to see a lot more pictures and videos of me when I was younger. And the thing about that made me want to like look at myself and change a lot is I started to ask myself, are you that adult that your kid self would be happy to meet? Like, would your child self be happy with you? It's almost like when adults say like finding your inner child, or like I've been seeing a lot of people saying like we're basically just trying to become the adults that our child selves wish that they had. And that's something that really have stuck with me. And for a lot of people that follow me on Instagram, there's a lot of times where I change my profile picture to like a baby or kid photo of me. And part of the reason that I do that is because like I'm trying to be that person that my younger self would have loved to be around. So that's why I'm trying to make all these changes. It's not just because of, you know, obviously trying to make my inner child and like inner self. I mean, yeah, trying to make like that younger self of me proud, but it's also just because I know what I need to do and I need to strive to do these things. But also it just comes down to a lot of reasons. But the main reason that I did think about starting to do all these changes was I really started to ask myself, would younger Tevin be happy with the person that he's become? And I'm not sitting here saying that I'm a bad person. Like, obviously, a lot of people do acknowledge that I do have a good heart and that there is good traits about me. But there is still stuff that I feel like if my younger self saw me now, you know, and I'm not even just talking about my little kid self. Like, if my middle school or high school self saw me now, they would be like, damn, man, like, you need to get a little bit, like, you need to get on your grind. Like, you need to lock in. And, you know, that's what I'm striving for. Right now, actually, the best way that I just thought about it is one thing I always wanted to do. One thing I always wanted to be was a father. I said that before on one of the older episodes. That's a big thing for me, is being a father someday. And I always say that a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now is for my future kids. But in a way to think about it, like just like how I said, like, would my younger self be proud of me? Right now, I'm doing it for that kid, Tevin, that young little Tevin that's the kid I'm doing these changes and stuff for, these experiences and stuff for, because I want to make that kid proud so that someday I can make my future kids proud. You know, I tried to make it sound like profound and stuff like that, but if you guys get what I'm saying, you know, yeah. So like I said, this episode, I know I was talking in circles. I was venting. I was rambling on. I've been talking for like an hour straight, which is crazy. But if you guys have stuck with the episode this long, I genuinely thank you guys for listening, because, you know, like I said, this podcast is very something special. Like, it's very special to me because I do fully get to like sit here and talk about stuff with people that, you know, get what I'm saying. And, you know, there's a lot of people that like the podcast, or a lot of people that like hearing the things I had to talk about. And, you know, there is people that, you know, picks apart like the content that I make. And I do genuinely want to thank you guys for listening. And I really hope that me sharing my stories, like me sharing all my flaws in my stories, probably inspires y'all to do better too. And I don't really know what I'm going to name this episode. Maybe I'll name it Do Better. Maybe I'll name it like Time to Change, or like, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I just hope that all my stories inspire you to strive to be a better version of yourself. Strive to be better. Maybe that's what I'll name the episode. But all right, y'all. Like I said, thank you for listening to my transparency. And, you know, like I said, if that one person is listening, then I would like to apologize to you like an adult. It don't have to be face to face, but I would like to apologize. So if you are listening, don't hesitate to reach out, because ain't no bad vibes over here. And if you want things to end right after the apology, I'll leave it at that. But with all that being said, Tevin Jameer signing out. See y'all in the next one. And like I said, just strive to be better.